We're officially 2 weeks away from the NFL draft being here, and the Jalen Milroe Giants rumors are on fire. We're going to break that down as everybody is talking about it, so we're going to talk about it. But I want you to answer this question first down in the comments section. Do you think the Giants and Joe Schoen should draft Jalen Milroe? What do you think? They got to add a quarterback. That's what people say. Milroe, he's extremely talented. Sound off for me. Welcome into Giants Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. Appreciate everybody for rolling in. Only 2 more weeks, well, less than 2 weeks at this point, that we got to speculate about the NFL draft. But I'm happy to do it today as we're going to talk about Jalen Milroe because ESPN, as well as Todd McShay, as well as Albert Breer, and everybody that covers the New York Giants are now connecting the dots between Milroe and Big Blue. Let's start with this from Albert Breer saying, if I had to guess right now when speaking about the Giants and what they want to do in round 1 of the NFL draft, says, I'd say they would love to draft Travis Hunter. They would love to draft Abdul Carter. And they'll look at quarterbacks on day 2 of the NFL draft. And that was at the beginning of the week. And that was really one of the first things we heard this week about the New York Giants not looking in round 1 at a quarterback and maybe looking at round 2. For a potential guy to be their franchise guy, hopefully down the line. Then a couple days ago, Mel Kiper came out with his mock draft, and he had Abdul Carter going number 3 overall to the New York Giants, a switch up from what he had in the prior mocks, which was Shedeur Sanders being a New York Giant. And he had Jalen Milroe, the Alabama gunslinger, an athletic guy, going number 34 to the Giants. Kiper saying this, quote, after the Giants passed on Shedeur Sanders in round 1, they could come back to quarterbacks on day 2. There's some love for Milroe in NFL circles right now, and he could fit well in New York. He'd have the chance to learn behind Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston and developing his pre-snap reads and improving his short to intermediate accuracy. Milroe throws a great deep ball and can change a game with his legs. He ran for 20 scores in 2024. This QB class doesn't have the same talent as the class in 24 or 23 did, but there are some solid middle-tier options, and then lists the stat about 5 or more passers that would go in the first 34 picks. So at Albert Breer connecting the Giants, well, not directly to Milroe, but to a day 2 quarterback. Now Mel Kiper selects Jalen Milroe in day 2. And then word came out that Jalen Milroe will have a top 30 visit with the New York Football Giants. Look, they're going to bring in a lot of different quarterbacks. They are already reportedly going to bring in Shedeur Sanders. Cam Ward reportedly has been offered a top 30 visit. That may not happen now that it sounds like he's going to be a Tennessee Titan. Tyler Shuck has a top 30 visit, and now Jalen Milroe does. So the Giants doing their work on that. But then you had Todd McShay on Thursday or Wednesday, whatever today is, saying he thinks the Giants could trade up for Jalen Milroe. In his mock draft, he had them getting back into round 1 and selecting the Alabama Crimson Tide quarterback. So now in 2 mock drafts by 2 of the most tapped-in people across the league, Albert Breer, and one more thing coming from ESPN that we got to talk about. There's a lot of smoke there. The trade that McShay made where the Giants went from pick 34 back into round 1 to select Milroe was with the Minnesota Vikings, and they moved up 10 spots from 34 to 24, and they had to sacrifice pick 65, the number 1 overall selection in that 3rd round to move up and to get Milroe. And he said this about it. I don't have a round 1 grade on Jalen Milroe, and none of the evaluators I've spoken with in the NFL do either. But it only takes one. And mock drafts, my mock drafts, aren't about my rankings. They're about the intel. What does that mean? Does that mean he's heard the New York Giants are interested in trading up for Jalen Milroe? My mock drafts aren't about my rankings. They're about my intel. I'll say this in response to the different mock drafts having Milroe go 34 to the Giants and Kiper and 24 for Todd McShay. Trading into round 1 is an interesting thing on multiple levels for Jalen Milroe. One, I don't have a first-round grade on him. And like McShay said, no one in the NFL does. But that 5th-year option is extremely valuable at the quarterback position. And do the Giants think that moving up into the back end of round one, sacrificing a pick like 65, gives you more confidence being able to have that fifth-year option? Like, how much are they going to value that in this really pursuit of a day two quarterback? Because if you're not going to play Jalen Milroe year one, which you should not, that fifth-year option becomes pretty valuable, because when he starts playing, hopefully it's year two, and he's already on year two of the deal. And if he's drafted in round two, he would only have a 4-year deal with only 2 years remaining after that first year he sat out. How many times did I just say the word two in the last 30 seconds? It'll be interesting. One, I don't think he's worth a first rounder. But with quarterbacks, you like having that fifth-year option, because after that fifth year, if they're good, they are going to be extremely expensive. And then Dan Orlovsky of ESPN saying the best landing spot for Jalen Milroe in the draft is the New York Giants, saying if I could pick one team for Jalen Milroe to go to, it would be the New York Giants. And I thought he gave some pretty good perspective on why he says that by adding, if I could handpick one team for Jalen Milroe, it would be the New York Giants in the second round. This would be the ideal situation. Number one, Brian Daboll's Alabama ties. I remember hearing Nick Saban talk about Jalen Milroe and said, this guy changes the game. I remember Brian Daboll talking about how Nick Saban told him the number one guy he could not stop in college over the past 2 years was Jayden Daniels. Number two, the impact he had with Josh Allen, but mainly the quarterback run, and that gets me to point number three, which is desperation. The Giants, they are desperate. And if it comes to a point this season where Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen are like, hey, we need to do something to keep our jobs, I just sit there and go, if you got Jalen Milroe, you can go full Lamar Jackson rookie mode, where here comes 15 times a game we're going to run the ball with Milroe, because this young man, while he's improving as a passer, is an absolute rocket ship with the ball in his hands. I think he's got more talent as a thrower than maybe some of the inconsistencies of the season last year showed itself. He's got to get much, much better in the red zone. But this would be the perfect place for both the player and the organization. A lot of stuff there, and let's kind of unpack it bit by bit. This would be the ultimate test for Brian Daboll. You hired Brian Daboll to identify your next franchise quarterback and develop your next franchise quarterback. And if Brian Daboll is able to develop Jalen Milroe, he will be your next franchise quarterback, because he already does a couple of things at an elite level, which we'll talk about. On the second hand, being the Baltimore Ravens of the NFC would be pretty sick. Smash mouth football team, being able to run the ball, control the line of scrimmage. It's going to be a rock fight every single time you play them. You got to be able to stop the run if you want to beat them, and Jalen Milroe gives you an identity, especially if you're able to get Abdul Carter with the number 3 pick. You get another elite defensive lineman. You have an identity there, and Milroe gives you a smash-mouth football type of feel on offense with the ability to take the top off the defense when he's airing it out. I want to make it abundantly clear, though, Milroe has a long way to go to be a below-average NFL passer, but he has miles and miles and miles to go to be Lamar Jackson. But can he maybe be 80% of what Lamar Jackson is, which would still be a top 10 quarterback in the National Football League? Can Brian Daboll, who did whatever he did and however he got that credit from Josh Allen, can he then do that with Jalen Milroe? I'm willing to swing on a quarterback that has elite traits. And Milroe, he's got 2 of them. And we're going to put some color to the picture of what I'm saying on that in a second. But I need you guys to check out our sponsor of today's video, and that is Game Time. If you're looking for tickets to go watch maybe the Giants next year, or there's a comedy club or a concert coming to town, or maybe you want to go watch the Yankees or the Knicks, the Mets, the Rangers, get your tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use our promo code ChatSports and get $20 off your first purchase, where terms do apply. That's CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. You get the best seats for the lowest price guaranteed. Price actually drop as the events get closer. So if you're a procrastinator, kind of like I am, you're going to be in love with this app. A lot of different awesome functions, too. You get to see your seat view in the app, so it's easy to decide which tickets you want. It's easy to resell your tickets if you bail last minute. And I love how easy it is to get in the stadium, because you get to access your tickets from your phone. It's more than just sporting events, but got some Knicks games coming up in the playoffs at the world's most famous arena. The Yankees season is underway in the Bronx. You can go watch them play. But, again, you can go to concerts, theater events, and so much more. And You could save $20 off your first purchase where terms do apply if you use our promo code ChatSports. So get started today and make sure you use that game time picks feature and all-in pricing feature like you see in the middle of your screen. That way you get the best seats for the lowest price guaranteed. What time is it? It's game time. Support the show, support the sponsor. Be a real one. All righty. This is kind of how I feel about Jalen Milroe and being a Giant and what he can or cannot be in the NFL. The most important thing on the offensive end right now in the NFL when it comes to winning games and scoring points is being able to create explosive plays. And an offense that can create explosive plays in multiple ways is going to make you that much more scary and dynamic. And Jalen Milroe at this point can already do that in two ways. He has an elite ability right now to create explosive plays with his ability to throw the deep ball and his ability to use his legs and be maybe the best runner coming out of college outside of Ashton Genty. What he did on the ground last year and what he did over the last 2 years on the ground is unreal. 67 missed tackles forced over the last 2 seasons. 65 runs of more than 10-plus yards. 18 more than 15-plus yards. He picked up 932 yards after contact as a quarterback. And he had 32 rushing touchdowns over the last 2 years. And he picked up 103 first downs on the ground. 964 yards on designed QB runs. So you can factor that into your offense. I think rookie year where he shouldn't play, he could still be a weapon inside the red zone. He can also scramble, 721 yards on scramble opportunities the last 2 years for a total of 1,685 yards on the ground and averaging 6 yards per carry. So he can already beat you with your legs. He isn't a running back, but he runs the ball like a running back. But he's a quarterback, and he's an explosive, play-seeking quarterback. In 2023, I get it, 2023. It wasn't 2024. But he was the best deep ball thrower in all of college football. 35 completions on 67 attempts with the ball, traveled more than 20-plus yards in the air, completing 52% of those passes. Those are freakish numbers. For 16 scores, just 1 interception. 26 big-time throws were charted. 0 turnover-worthy plays. And he had a big PFF grade on deep ball throws of 96.9, top of the country. Wasn't nearly as good in 2024 as he was in 2023, but still pretty damn good. And I think losing the weapons that he did due to the transfer portal and Nick Saban retiring and going from Nick Saban to Daboll and the coaching staff changes and losing a great offensive coordinator that was in the NFL in 2024, I think all factored into him not being nearly as good as he was in every aspect. But he still had 16 big-time throws to 1 turnover-worthy play and a PFF grade 93.1 on those situations. He can also fit the ball over the middle when it comes to the intermediate range. On throws that went 10 to 19 yards in air, he still had an above 90 Pro Football Focus grade. Like, he could still do it. Does he need to get way better? Absolutely. Does he need to be able to be better at short passes? Yeah, it really only has a 1 ball in his game. Kind of like J.J. McCarthy, where everything's got steam on it. Everything's got heat on it. It's a line drive pass, and he's a driver of the football. And that's why some of the plays on screen passes look terrible. That's why some of the checkdowns look bad. He doesn't have great touch at this moment. You can work on that. But we've already seen Milroe do it at a high level when it comes to creating explosive plays with his arms and with his legs. And we've already seen him play really good football. Go watch the Georgia game from this past year. He was awesome. Go watch the LSU game. He is making those LSU defenders look slow. He looks like Chris Johnson running away from them. And he was good in 2023. Like, I hate to reference 2023, but like, I would rather what I saw get a green check mark than, and if it was 2 years ago compared to I've never seen it. Like, we've seen Milroe be good. We've seen Milroe have success and be a competent quarterback. This year he struggled, and it got worse as the season went on. It absolutely did, and he's got to be better in the pocket, and he's got to be better diagnosing pressure and dealing with pressure. He was not good in that department this year. Like, when under pressure, Jalen Milroe really struggled for Alabama this past year. Like, it was bad. He completed just 44% of his passes. And he had a turnover-worthy play percentage of 3.7 with a big-time throw percentage of 4.2. You should be almost tripling up the turnover-worthy players compared to big-time throws. He also threw 9 interceptions when he was kept clean in the pocket. Like, he's got a long ways to go there. But I don't mind swinging for the fences at the quarterback position, and that's what Jalen Milroe is. He has an elite ability to create chunk plays with his arm, an elite ability to create chunk plays with his legs. It's all the other stuff that you got to work on, and can Brian Daboll bring that out of him? I'm not sure I love trading up for him, though, in round 1, because I don't have a round 1 grade on him. I really have like a round 3 grade on him, and I don't really love giving up pick 65, who I think should be an impact player for you for a long time. Like, I don't like giving up pick 65, but I understand getting the 5th-year option. Milroe at pick 34 would be a little bit of a stretch for me still, but at 65, like, yeah, I'd love Milroe at 65. I'd love to take that chance. Like, if you've been watching this channel since I started covering the NFL draft back in the 2022 cycle, you would know that I'm not really all that big on quarterbacks outside of round 1. And I get it. It's just, there's always guys. There's Tom Brady, Dak Prescott, Brock Purdy, Jalen Hurts. There's always quarterbacks that are good outside of day 1, but I just not what I do. I'm almost of the belief if the Giants don't draft a quarterback and for the first round, I'm almost cool with not drafting one. So not big on quarterbacks that are non-day 1 guys. And like the analytics over the past couple of years, shout out to Bobby Skinner. Go show him some love and his new YouTube page. He's crushing it over there. Like, he's got the information. Here's the non-first round quarterbacks from 2016 to 2023. In 2023, Will Levis and Hendon Hooker. We've seen nothing. Desmond Ridder, Malik Willis, Matt Corral. Nothing. Kyle Trask, Kellen Mond, Davis Mills. I think Mills is a good backup. But are we looking for backups? No. Jalen Hurts, absolute home run. Grand slam, walk-off. Drew Lock, Will Greer. Swing and a miss. Mason Rudolph. Swing and a miss. Like Kaiser, Webb, Beathard, Hackenberg, Brissett, Kessler. Swing and a miss. So that's 1 hit out of like 18 guys listed right there. I don't know. I'm almost of the belief if you don't draft a quarterback in round 1, don't do it at all. And if you don't draft a quarterback at all, you're going to make your roster better. But if there is a day 2 guy I'm willing to pick this year, it is Jalen Milroe. Because I've seen him do elite things at an elite level. And I'm hoping Brian Daboll is that quarterback guru, because that is why John Mara and Joe Shane hired him. Do you want the Giants to draft a quarterback? Like, is it leave the draft with a quarterback at all costs? Let me know. Type D for draft, type P for pass. And make sure you are following me on social media. I'm on Twitter. I'm on IG. Hit me up, and let's go G-Men.